Greetings, humans. I have long had difficulty finding products that work well for my hair, which tends to be very thin and greasy and uncooperative. I've tried a number of things over the years, and I've recently been interested in trying something very different. Namely 18th century pomade and powder, which is specifically designed to work well for thin, greasy hair. So I am embarking on an interesting journey. I've been watching Abby Cox's YouTube videos about 18th century hair routines, about how to make pomade and powder and then how to use them properly. So I am deeply indebted to Abby's process here. I'm using the same original recipe that she used and then taking a lot of hints from the specifics that she lists in her videos as well. So I have here the main ingredient of pomade, which is sheep's tallow. I've never looked at or tasted or smelled sheep's tallow before, so let's see what it's like. It smells like meat. It does have a little bit of a strong smell, which is why it needs to be rinsed before using it. It's not an unpleasant smell at all. It just smells like fat, kind of like beef fat or pork fat. It's a pretty nice smell, just not a smell I would want in my hair. So let's go and rinse this off. The original recipe doesn't actually say how long you're supposed to rinse or soak this tallow, but Abby Cox in her videos says that 12 days is the necessary length of time to get rid of the smell completely, and so I'm going to take her word for it. This has been soaking for a full 2 weeks now. I've changed the water out every day, and I'm going to drain it for the last time. At this point, there's really no smell at all. If I actually rub my finger on it and bring it right up to my nose, I'm getting just the faintest hint of a smell, but not the animal smell that I was getting before. More like shortening, but not even that strong. The original recipe says that I shall dry off my fat with a linen cloth, but I figure a couple paper towels will do just as well to get the water off of it. Since, of course, oil and water repel each other, there's not really any significant moisture here. There was just a little bit that was trapped between the pieces, but as soon as I've dumped them out here, they're basically dry. All right, poor woman's double boiler coming right up. I go ahead and load up all my tallow and let it melt. Next, I'm adding a little bit of pork lard into here. This will just help with the consistency. And the recipe calls for 4 ounces, or about half a cup. I'm not finding any more solid lumps. This is all nicely melted down. So I'll go ahead and remove it from the heat. At this point, I'm going to be whisking this mixture as well as adding my essential oils to scent it. And I've decided to use peppermint and rosemary. I'm not sure how much I'll need. I know peppermint is very powerful, so I'm going to start, oh, this doesn't need the dropper. Start with just a few drops. That should be enough to start with. And a bit of rosemary. Now I'm just going to continue whisking this as it cools and begins to harden, because what that'll do is it will create a fluffier, creamier consistency. It's starting to become a little bit opaque as it cools down. That's about time to stop stirring. So now I'm going to reuse the jars that the lamb tallow came in to hold the pomade and store it. Now that the pomade is done, it's time to put together the powder, which is in fact the easy part. It starts off with wheat starch, which I might be able to substitute for cornstarch in future. But to start with, I'm just using exactly what the recipe said and seeing how it turns out. And if I like this and I decide to do it more in future, good job. I'll see if cornstarch works better or just as well. Just get that leveled down so that there's enough space for me to add orris root, which is a flower root powdered down and often used in potpourri as a binder to help this scent last longer. So the idea here is that the orris root in the powder will help to absorb the scent from the pomade and keep it lasting all day. And that smells nice. It has a faint floral kind of smell, certainly. It smells like some Asian food that I've eaten before, but I can't place it. And I am not going to try mixing this. I'm just going to shake it vigorously. And just like that, that is hair powder. I'm going to store most of it in this container, but I also have this little powder box. I'm going to store some in here to access more easily for daily use. There we go. All right, time to try this pomade and powder for the first time.
First, I'm getting a handful of pomade and rubbing it between my hands to emulsify it, then combing it through my hair with my fingers, filling my hair with pomade until all my hair has a sort of damp-looking consistency. Once I hit that point, I have enough pomade and it's time to start with the powder. The goal here is to coat every strand of hair with powder so that it absorbs into the oil and gives the hair a thick, fluffy kind of consistency. So you don't want any stringy or greasy segments left over. You've got some lovely shots in here of the top of my head where you can see just how thin my hair really is. So I'm really hoping that this will thicken up my hair and give it a lot more volume and a lot more fluff so that I don't look like I'm going bald.
All right. I think that's just about done. And it does feel softer and more voluminous than usual. Of course, it doesn't have the curly poof that I'll sometimes get right after washing my hair, but this was designed for hair that was going to be put up into a hairstyle, usually underneath a hat and bonnet anyway. For now, I'm not going to bother with anything fancy like that. I think I'm just gonna do some kind of bun or ponytail. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, learned something interesting. I certainly did. You'll definitely see me in future videos with my hair pomaded and powdered as I further experiment with this technique. I'm also planning on moving on to more 18th century reproduction, as I'm going to be making myself a dress from the time period and a hat and gloves and all of that to go along and create a full getup from the late 1700s. So if you're interested in seeing more of that, stick around, like, subscribe, and you'll see a whole lot more of me exploring the 18th century. Until next time, fare thee well.